Welcome to Spear Tackle episode 40. Today we will have a little bit of a shorter episode. We'll be discussing the 33-man squad that was chosen to take on Argentina, one game at home, one game in a neutral venue. Timo, how are you?
Like a boy, I'm good. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Yeah, we did very well in our previous episode. I think that's the most views we've ever had. So thank you to everyone that is watching our videos. But yeah, Timo, I think let's jump straight into it. Like I said, I can't see when you bring it up, so let me know when it's up, and then maybe you can give us your thoughts on the squad.
The full squad is up. I don't have a lot to say about the squad. It's very similar to the squad that went touring New Zealand. Maybe one or two changes. But in general, pretty basic squad for this year so far. So I don't have too much to say. Based on the previous video we had with the squad that was touring New Zealand, this is basically the same
Yeah,
squad.
it is. Yeah. Obviously minus the injuries, like Lotte Jager and Abelele Fassi. It's a very nothing that stands out here. You know, there's a few players in here that I would like to see playing a bit more against Argentina. But yeah, it's basically the same squad. Raisi did say that he is keeping up open 3 spaces, for potential players to join this squad. I'd actually be interested to see who that would be. I think Edel van Merwe probably could be. We only have one registered or recognized fullback in the squad, so maybe I don't think it can be a Quainon, to be honest with you. Maybe I don't know. Maybe a very Leroux. He's obviously been. He's not injured or anything, so I just think that he's sort of been cold. Maybe he's not playing the Tony ball the way Rassi wants him to. Look, he's a brilliant player, a brilliant servant. For the Springboks, but I just think somewhere, sometime it has to end eventually. But anyways, what we've done is. Based on this, what we thought was going to be a bit interesting is that we thought that we're going to name our own match day 23 based on this 33-man squad, who we would choose to play Argentina. I've seen yours, and yours is going to be a shocker. So maybe I should go first and ease people into it, and then we'll explain our squads. So let me know when I am up.
No, you can shoot. Your squad is up.
Okay, so sorry, I can't find my squad right now. Okay, my squad is very much the squad that beat the All Blacks at Wellington, with here and there a few changes, but very much more or less the same squad. Because I think that is our future, and I know it's called recency bias or whatever. I'd like to shake it up a bit. I think that the older boys are maybe not adapting to the Tony ball the way that Raisi would have hoped they would. Sort of our first choice players. They haven't really been looking the best. We've been struggling with Australia. Obviously lost at Eden Park. And when Raisi chose a squad similar to the one I've chosen, we clapped the All Blacks with 33 points. So anyways. Oxenchair, Malcolm Marx, Thomas Utoy. I like Thomas Utoy. Oxenchair, Malcolm Marx, nothing to explain. Thomas Utoy, I fucking love him. I think he's a beast. Initially I used to like him more on the loose head, because I know he can play both, but I mean he's been making waves on the tight head. Even it's about the one player that missed out in that record win against the All Blacks. I don't know why, because I'd still maintain that he's probably one of the best Springboks that we have at the moment. Ruan Orkia, a brilliant line-out operator. If you watch that last game, he stole one of the balls from the All Blacks like they were throwing it to him. I think he's very good. He only got capped last year, I think. Yes, last year, and I think he's definitely, we're going to see a lot more of him in that Springbok jersey. Maybe even a potential future Springbok captain. Then Siya Kolisi, my captain, the current captain, the best South African Springbok captain we've ever had. I'll keep him on 6. Pieter Sef de Toy. I think the best player we have, like I've mentioned many times before. I read a very interesting thing. I know that you're not always a fan of Peter Steff. I think is definitely one of the best we have. And maybe our few viewers can fact check me on this, but he plays for the Japanese league. We know that. But I read that before he played for the Springboks this year, he hasn't played any rugby for 500 days due to injury. Obviously, I don't watch the Japanese league, so I'm not 100% sure. But I read that he hasn't played 500 days and then just jumped into the Springbok squad and obviously started smashing. Then Jasper Wiese, who I thought we obviously we were without him for a long time because of him headbutting Italian player. But when he came back last weekend, it's like he never left. I mean, I thought he was amazing last weekend. Very few players weren't amazing last weekend, but I thought Jasper Wiese is a very hard-working ball-carrying 8. And then Kobus Reinach. Look, I'm starting to feel like I'm basing all my whole team on last weekend's game, which is probably not fair. But he's not just last weekend. He has sort of this season. I'll be honest with you. I never used to be the biggest fan of him, and I think he's 35 or 34 years old. So I never used to be the biggest fan of him. I didn't think he was bad. I just thought we had better 9s. But this season, I felt like he's bringing something that I haven't really seen before. I think he plays very well in the type of way that obviously the rugby Rice Erasmus is trying to play, and I think he was very good last weekend and even a few games before that. Then Sasha Fireman Gumazulu, I know you don't like him. I think he's our future. I think he's a very good balance between our Andre Pollard and Mani Rabok. I know he got injured, so if he is fit to play, I would choose him. I don't think the injury was that bad, wasn't mentioned. But yeah, Sasha, I think, is our future. A very clever and very aggressive player as well. And then Ethan Hooker. I know Rassi said that he likes him more on centre, even though both his caps for the Springboks was on wing, I think. I have to double check that. Anyways, he played wing when it mattered. And I think he's a brilliant wing. I know the Sharks also used to play him on centre, and then later on they started playing him on a wing. I think he's a very good. I like bigger wings, and we haven't really seen a bigger wing in a while. We usually have short wingers with scrum caps, which I don't mind. But I think Ethan Hooker is sort of changing the dynamic, and I think it looks very good. I think we're gonna see a lot of him as well. And then this one might be a little bit controversial, maybe not. I don't think it is, because I think Andre Esterhuizen has been playing very well. For the past few years, actually. I remember when the Sharks bought him, I was unbelievably excited, and at times he was probably one of the only good players, or one of the only players that looked very good on the pitch when they were playing for the Sharks. And for the Springboks as well, he's just a workhorse. He's just such a big, massive unit. I know that Damien Willemse was also looking very good on inside centre, but like I said last episode, I like a bit of a bigger or more physical inside centre. I like a crash ball, someone that likes to crash ball a bit more, and I think that's what you have in Andre Esterhuizen. I thought he looked phenomenal every time he wore the Springbok shirt this year, actually. And it could go either way. It can go Damien de Linde or Andre Esterhuizen. I think Andre deserves his shot. He's also not a spring chicken anymore. And then Kainan Moody. I'd like to see more of Kainan Moody on outside centre. I think the times he's played on wing, he's sort of disappointed us. In the 2 games in Australia or whatever game he played in Australia. But I think when he plays an outside centre, he's looked very good. And I'm not just talking about this past weekend's match. I think he's only had like 5 or 6 caps on outside centre for the Springboks. I know for the Bulls, he predominantly plays on the wing as well. But the last time as well, I saw him on outside centre. It was this year when he was playing against Italy. Was it Italy or Georgia, whoever? And he looked very good. 2023, just before the World Cup, he played on outside centre when we gave the All Blacks their biggest defeat. That time, obviously before we we beat him now. So I think I'd like to see a bit more of him. Also, still a very, very young player. I think he needs to sort of get. He looks comfortable, but just a bit more experience in that 13 jersey. And then Cheslin Colby, I mean, no explanation needed there. The best wing in the world, always brings something different. And then Damien Willemse. I think Damien Willemse is an unbelievable player. Before, after he ripped his balls and was injured, and we didn't see a lot of him after the Rugby World Cup final, I did in this show say that we need to get Damien Willemse back on form. I still think he's the best fullback that we have. And then he proved me right this weekend. Obviously against Australia, him and Apelele Fassi were looking very, very bad. And then this weekend, he just showed that he was a beast, and he still has it in him. And I still think that he is our first choice fullback, even with Fassi back. And that's just speaking to the deaf, because I also think Fassi is a brilliant player. I just think Damien Willemse edges it for me. Then Marnus van der Merwe, I was contemplating putting Hendrik Wessels on the bench as a hooker, because I know he can cover both. But I ultimately went with Marnus van der Merwe, and then I still chose Hendrik Wessels, but on loose head. And then Volko Low on tight head. Archie Simon, he was unbelievable. Last weekend, and I mean, just a very good player overall. And then Kwagga Smith, Marco van Staden, Grant Williams, and Manie Libbok. So I went for the 6-2 split with Grant Williams covering 9 and your wings. Manie Libbok obviously covering your fly off. Sasha can go to center or even fullback. So I think that does cover our, that's my team. I think this team puts 30 points on Argentina, to be honest with you.
Okay, let me show you a team that would put 114 points on Argentina.
Okay, go for it.
Okay, so based on our front row right now, we don't really have a lot of options, but the options that we do have is pretty solid. Oxenche, Malcolm Marx, Wilco Low. I went for to get that early. It's on putting Wilco in at the start and not go for the impact of the bench. Obviously, Eben Etzebeth, who I also name as my captain for my team, alongside Franco Mostert. The reason I went with that combination is Argentina is known to be a very physical side when it comes to rucks, and I think that Eben and Franco brings that physicality to them, to the situation a lot more. I went with Kwagga on 6, Pieter Stef de Tooy on 7, and Jasper Wiese on 8. The only reason I left Sia or demoted Sia to the bench is because we don't really at the moment have a fetcher that is really recognized as a fetcher. I know Marco van Staden does a pretty decent job at fetching, but he also bleeds a lot of penalties in a lot of the situations. And with Argentina, that's known for stealing the ball or competing with that ball. I feel that Kwagga would be a much larger deterrent in a match like this. Pieter Stef de Tooy, cannot doubt that he is a good player and stuff. I just like to see him offload more. With all the carries he's had, basically all the offloads that he's had, 100% of the offloads that he's had after contact has led to tries this year. So maybe if he passes more, we could have beat New Zealand with 70 points, Jasper Wiese, obviously, probably our most recognized number 8 that's not injured or anything at the moment. As we mentioned last episode as well, he likes that physicality, he wants the physicality, and he's definitely not scared of any of the players running in. Then I went for probably a controversial pick based on the players that we have available, but it will make sense when I name the rest of my team. I'm bringing Morne van der Berg in on scrum half, purely because I feel that he's a bit underrated at the moment. And I feel alongside Andre Pollard, they're a very solid combination. They seem to click very well. They seem to have that natural chemistry between a 9 and a 10, which helps a lot. 11, I went very, very controversial. You gave me a lot of flack about it, or you had a strong opinion about it before the show. Going with Grant Williams. I still think Grant Williams would be a fantastic winger. And
He played on wing against the All Blacks this
yeah,
weekend. He played very well.
yeah, based on the speed that the Argentinians have on the outside, especially, I need somebody that could match that, and we don't have any players that could match that other than probably Grant Williams and Jason Colby. So that's my wing combination. My center pairing, I went experimental as well, and I moved Damien Willemse to 12 with Ethan Hooker at 13. I do think Damien Willemse is an all-round talented player. I've seen him play at 12 where he's been phenomenal. Considering at the Stormers you had Warwick Geland that played fullback primarily most of the season. Even when Willemse was not injured, Geland was still playing fullback with Willemse primarily playing either 10 or 12. What I do like about Willemse at 12 is he brings that thing that you don't know. He's big enough to run a crash ball. He's pretty solid in defense, but he's also got that capability in the middle of the field. I mean, that try he scored against New Zealand came from nothing. It was an exceptionally shit pass from Mani that he basically had to go fetch on the moon, and then he still scored, you know. So I think in those pressure situations, alongside Ethan Hooker, they're deceptively fast players. They're solid on defense, and you don't really know what to expect. You know, Ethan Hooker runs extremely good support lines, which somebody like Willemse is good at feeding into. So I think as a combination for me, and I would love to see that at least once in my lifetime, them playing in a combination when they're on form and not the same age as Willie Leroux. Then for fullback, I went with Sasha Feinberg and Ngomazulu, and I only did that because Quayne Horn was not included in the side. If Quayne Horn was included in the squad, the three-man squad, he would have probably been my starting fullback, and Sasha would have maybe reached the bench. But Sasha I put on fullback because I feel he's got the boot. He's got that deceptive thing where he's got this. It looks like he's got zero acceleration, and all of a sudden he just goes. And he's good at reading space. He is a clever player. And obviously with the boot he's got, if they're going to decide to play loose and they're going to start pushing kicks down our throat, having Sasha at the back is going to punish them back, and we'll probably see a lot of 50-22s come our way. My bench, very similar to your bench. I went with Jan-Hendrik Wessels as the difference there with my hooker replacement. I went with Boan Venter and Thomas de Toy as my prop replacements. I feel that they come on when they come on as you would say a bomb squad. I think they've got enough impact to do the job. RG off the bench for me has always been a good option off the bench. I'm not a big fan with him as a starter. I feel that he flourishes a lot more when the game is a bit more loose. So coming in as an impact player later on, when people are a bit more tired and stuff, and as we saw the try he scored in New Zealand as well, you know. So looking at that, Sia demoted to the bench, not because I don't think Sia deserves to be there. I sacrificed Sia to have Kwagga in as a fetcher because he is exceptionally good at stealing competing on the ground for the ball and stuff. But Sia, obviously, I maintain him because he can cover loose forward and he can cover eighth man. So he's the ideal replacement there. And he obviously brings in that bit of a calmness knowing your captain is still in the side and is coming off the bench. Then the same like you, Kobus Reinach, because I'm pretty much playing three scrum offs in my team. I do have Kobus Reinach that's coming off the bench to cover for that scrum off scenario. Mani Lebok, who I'm bringing in to pretty much cover my fly off in fullback, and then Andre Esterhuizen, I would have started him, but I don't think that. So that it's going to be good for South Africa to play too much crash ball rugby against the Argentinians. They thrive on sucking in players, turning over the ball, and having more space than who knows what on the outside, and that's where they tend to punish you. They do punish you based on that they like sucking in your forwards, making the ball slow, which makes you send in more forwards and stuff. And I don't think that the crash ball is going to be our way to go, especially against the Argentinians. I do feel we need to play a bit more of a, for lack of better term, Tony ball, but I feel just a bit more of a looser game, keep them guessing. Don't take the first point of contact, rather go for the second or the third point of contact where you catch them off guard, because they are relying on that first point of contact with the crash ball centers and stuff. And playing predominantly a crash ball center is going to make their lives very easy, because they're going to know exactly where the ball is going to go when a guy like Andre Esterhuizen or a guy like Damien the Islander would have taken the ball, and they are going to have players around him that can counter that. And the similar thing happened to us in the first game against New Zealand, where they were expecting that, and all of a sudden, you go down, your loose forwards are not in position to be there fast enough, or we haven't recovered from the previous ruck, and they just turn over the ball every time, and they like to do that on the try line. Last weekend, again, you look at the whole Damian Willemse thing. He kept them guessing, because that's the beauty of a player like Damian Willemse. You don't know what he's going to do. Because he can kick from 12, he can run, he can do a crash ball. He likes to do that thing like Arge does, goes into the contact, his arms are free, and he just offloads. And that's something that I feel you need. I feel that South Africa in general, we're behind on that, and that's one area where I have to criticize the Tony Ball, is that we've never really picked an inside center that can play Tony Ball. You can't play Tony Ball with a crash ball inside center. You need to play Tony Ball with an offloading inside center. But you also need to have, obviously, an inside center that can, in situations, take the heat, still get the go forward ball and whatnot. So my team is purely based to counter the speed of the Argentinians, but to also be able to attack with speed. I'm putting in a pretty solid center pairing. They're not the smallest centers, so putting in that, and fast on the outside, and always with Andre being there, always securing the 3 points. That's what my logic is. My logic is behind that.
Oh, interesting team. Yeah, so I think we'll dive deeper in next weekend. Our next episode will probably be next week, Thursday, where we'll dive in a bit deeper in our analyzing of the two squads or the two teams that will actually be announced. Look, I don't think we must take Argentina lightly. I won't be surprised if we do lose against them, and I know that's a shit thing to say. But I mean, the Argentinians aren't what they were. They are a team. They're a proper team. I think, as a few people have mentioned before, Kings Park is our Wellington. I think in all our major rugby stadiums in South Africa, we have the worst record at Kings Park. So yeah, I don't know. Let's see. I do think we are going to beat them. Obviously, I'll be more confident once I've seen what team Rasi's picked and what team the Argentinians have picked. I did read that Albanos is back, which is making me shit myself a bit, because I think Albanos is probably one of the best flyers in the world at the moment. So yeah, Timo, thank you so much. Anything you want to add?
No. I think next week we'll have a bit of a more normal schedule. It is a bit of a off week now with the break in the Rugby Championship and whatnot. So yeah, I think our early episode next week will probably look at some of the transfers. Right, we mentioned that.
UFC starts next weekend as well.
Yeah, we'll probably be looking at some of the UFC stuff, looking at the transfers. There's a lot of exciting things that's going on with the transfers in the South African sides. And then obviously later next week we'll be doing the build up for the UFC and obviously the second last round of the Rugby Championship. So next week we'll be back to our normal schedule of Tuesdays and Thursdays, or Wednesdays and Fridays in essence, with the upload times of the episodes. All I want to say is thanks for all the views we had on the last episode. We do appreciate all the comments and everything.
Not all of the comments.
It's much appreciated, and we'll see you guys then again on Tuesday. Brenton, be safe.
Cheers, guys.
Bye.